Welcome to Rick and That Michelle Chick. I'm that Michelle Chick.
And I'm Rick. Welcome.
So let's discuss stalkers in this episode, which I don't know about you, but I've had a few.
Yeah.
Have you?
I'm sure I have. But so one of the things we talked about earlier about how a fact a great female disc jockey is a diamond, it's hard to come by. Well,
Right.
I know that compared to the men, I'm sure women get way more stalkers than the men do.
Right. Which is why having fake names for us
Oh,
is
yeah.
probably a very good
We'll
thing
talk
in
about
that
that.
regard. Yep.
Absolutely. That's a good reason to have a fake name. Absolutely.
Yep. Which we can discuss fake names later if we have enough time. I feel like you and I have enough stalkers that we could probably almost fill this hour. So
We'll see.
yeah,
I have to
see how-
jog my memory. So
Okay, well, my first stalker, I don't know if you could call him a stalker, but it was my first time dealing with something like this. Um, it was when I was working part time at KXDD doing the overnight weekends. And at that time, we were in this old single wide trailer with an addition. I mean, just this rickety rundown building. And there was a window next to the door, and the door would be, locked after business hours, obviously. um and for radio stations, there is a doorbell that lights up a light so that we know that someone is at the door to go answer it. um and if you were busy or didn't see this light, we all learned that we could slide this window open and then reach in and unlock the door and
oh,
get in. Yes.
okay.
Yes. So, and a lot of us did it. I think we just started doing it. I don't even think we would buzz the door. We would just slide the window open, unlock the door, and go in. Um, and I was working a shift, and my then boyfriend, now my husband Jay, at the time, had been out with his friends, and he decided to stop by and say hi. So it was probably around I would guess 1:30 a.m. And he rang the buzzer, and I was busy, so I wasn't able to answer the door right away. And for some reason, he realized that the front door was unlocked. So he came inside, and he discovered a guy that was standing in the hallway. And at the time, the building was set up so there were windows all the way through. So there was the reception window, the AM studio was encased in windows, and then a window into the KXWD studio where I was. So this guy was able, where he was standing, he was able to see me, but I could not see him.
Oh,
Who
scary.
knows? Yeah, who knows how long he had been there. My husband asked him, "Who are you?" And this guy just bolted out the front door. It was super freaky. We don't know who the guy was. It never happened again, thank goodness. And after after that, they put a stick in the window so that we can no longer slide the window open to unlock the door. So that's my first kind of dip into the pool of slightly stalkers, and I have another one that was a little bit more serious. But do you want to tell a story, and then I'll tell my serious stalker
Yeah, yours
story?
is a scary one, man. Yours is like
Oh
yours is
no,
like
this is
yours
an
is
even
like
better one. My next one.
oh my gosh, yours is
Yeah.
like movie of the week on TV. The DJ that got stalked or whatever. That would make They're gonna
Yeah.
get Patty Duke, or they're gonna get one of those. They're gonna get Eve Plum for Brady Bunch to play you, basically. Because
Oh, is that who you say? You say I look
well,
like?
remember when they would do the cheesy TV movies of the week or whatever, and so you'd have old sitcom stars or whatever that can't get a gig, and I think
Right.
what was it Patty Duke? I mean, it's kind of like the Hallmark Channel now, where it's always like Lindsay
Mhm.
Lohan. Uh,
Lacey
um,
Chabert from Party
yeah,
of Five.
thank you. She's on all of those. I love Kelly Martin. Those kind of
Yeah.
the movie of the week at the radio station with Kelly Martin playing you
Yeah.
basically and getting
Okay.
stalked. So
Yes.
that's a
Okay.
crazy story. So
Okay. Your story. Go.
so here's one thing that you learn, and I know we haven't talked about it yet, but just as our voice, or just as we are not what people perceive us to be on the radio, what we perceive the listener to be is also the double-edged sword. So my first radio station, working at KCLK in Clarkston, Washington, I was 18 years old at the time, and this person kept calling all the time, and she had a great voice. And so, and I was like, oh, okay, well, she's got a great voice. And so she would call in and make requests, and we would talk, blah, blah, blah. Well, so what happened one night, I thought, you know what? Because I was single at the time, I thought, you know what? I'll just ask her out. Never, you already know how this is going to turn out. So anyway, I had asked, she had a great voice, asked her out. So I picked her up at her house. I think we were close to the same age. She's probably a little older, I guess, maybe a couple years older.
Hmm.
She absolutely did not look like her voice at all.
Does
Now,
she have a face for radio?
well, it's not even about that. All I can say is I really believe in life that we all have a physicality. So on a rare occasion, you see a 4 with a 10. But it no, and I'll be the 4. I'm okay with that. But normally 8s and 9s and 10s all hang out with each other. So
Right,
when,
the
so when you
upper,
so
yeah.
when yeah so when you do see a 1 with the 10, you're like, dang, hey, great job, blah blah blah. And we've talked about this before on the show. It's perfectly possible to be a 2 or a 3 and pull in a 10 because you've got a great personality, but you're ugly as
Or you
So
have a lot of money.
or well, oh, there you go. You just said it. I didn't say it. So anyway, she looked nothing, absolutely nothing. So there was not an ounce of like, not even like, oh, because come on now, Michele. I know you haven't been as worldly as me, but I mean, there's people I would make out with, but I would never like date. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah,
Okay, right,
of
right.
course.
There's people I would kiss, and but that would be it. You'd make out, and that'd be it. You'd never see him again. Okay.
Right.
Well, this wasn't even in that universe. Like it wasn't even a possibility of like we were gonna have any relations after this date. So I think I took her bowling, and then I took her to the skating rink where I was working at the time. And Pokey, my first wife, just laughed her ass off because number one, she couldn't skate, so she was falling down all over the place. So I looked like like trying to pick her up, you know. And anyway, so Pokey just laughed and laughed and laughed. And I got back to her place, and she tried to invite me in. I mean, she basically
Mm.
put it all out on the table, and I said, "Yeah, I think I'll just be heading on home." So, not really a stalker, but the first lesson of radio is just like that. Our voices don't look like our faces. Guess what? On the other end,
Mhm.
they do not. Have you now? I guess that's the number one rule is you don't date listeners. It's kind of like working at a
Yes.
strip club.
Mhm. That
You're working at
is
a strip club. You don't date the clientele. So I
mhm.
learned my lesson really early going forward. I was 18. I said, okay. After that, I said nope. And I don't recall looking back. As long as you've known me, I've never dated a listener, have I? I don't think so.
Not that I can recall.
No, no. So I
I
mean,
mean,
I
if
think
you did, it was in secret and you didn't
yeah.
tell any
I
of
don't. I
us.
mean, I've met people by being the radio DJ,
Mm.
as the radio DJ, but I don't think I ever had anybody. They never called in, and we hooked. Well. When I was working at
No.
Z103 in Idaho Falls, so it's so funny. This is a funny story. So Z103, guy, I was like 23 years old. 23 years old. I was a young kid. Yeah, this was
Mhm.
1992, and if you know anything about Idaho Falls and Pocatello and Boise and Rexburg. Rexburg has the big Mormon college, right? So they wore so I've always said this, and I'll say it again. The easiest person is the preacher's daughter. If you're ever curious, if you want a score, the easiest person. So anyway, I was working overnights on Z103. This gal calls up out of the blue, and we kind of hit it off. And she's like, "Well, I'll just come back to your apartment." Da 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 da. So that was the one time I did take a listener home. You know,
Mm.
she wasn't. Me being a 4, she was a 4. So that we kind of 4 or
It was
5. So we
equal.
it was yeah, it wasn't it was like, okay, but I will tell you this, and to not make it sound as exciting as it was, you do
Mm.
realize that it's hard to have sex with a complete stranger that you just met.
Mhm.
It really is, because it's like if you're not vibing, you're not vibing. Some people, I guess
Right.
some people can vibe, but you and I both know the first time is always the most awkward of all.
Oh,
Like
yes.
it just is. So it wasn't I'm sure it wasn't that enjoyable to her at all. and it really wasn't that enjoyable to me. So looking back, I wish I could take that away because it really was like, what were you thinking? I was a stupid kid, but I think that's about in terms of doing some stupid stuff.
It was a
There's a
lesson learned.
don't date the listeners.
Yep. Isn't number 2, don't eat homemade food brought to
Oh
the
yeah, when
radio
they leave,
station?
yeah. So I'll take my
I mean,
chances with
unless
the
you
food.
know them.
Right. I'll take my chances. I'll take my chances with the food. Now, I cannot tell a lie and say I haven't had. I can't say I haven't had admirers because we not necessarily stalkers, but
Right,
you because you've seen them. You've seen I've had admirers.
right.
But I would not say anybody that literally stalked me or wouldn't play Misty for me. You are
Well,
you are.
I do.
I know you do. So I'm sure you have
Mhm.
another story. Let's hear it.
I do, yeah. So the next stalker I had was definitely a lot more serious. It was when I worked at KFFM the second time, which I don't know if you were there or not. It would have been during this time period. And, of course, this is what, 1999. And back
Oh yeah, I
then,
was there. Yeah,
there's no internet. So our listeners couldn't just look on the internet to see what we looked like.
that's true.
They would have to come to a remote
Right.
broadcast or
Right.
something like that. And I was doing a remote broadcast. I don't remember where it was, but this guy, he came up to me and he said hi. He introduced himself. I remember his name because this name will stick with me forever. His name was Walter. I don't remember his last name though. And just in that instant when he came up to me and said hi, I got that spidey
Oh
feeling, that
yeah.
girl, like weird, creepy vibe that we get off of men. And again, I was at a remote broadcast, so I had to be nice, civil. He's a listener,
Right. Right.
so I couldn't be rude or anything. So I'm just normal nice. I'm not overly nice or anything like that. Then maybe a week or two later, I was pumping gas, and the same guy was
Oh,
across the pump from me
no.
pumping gas, and he
No.
said hi to me. And I didn't really think anything of it. I thought, okay, this is just a coincidence at the time, but it was kind of weird. And again, I got that off vibe, and I just tried to be nice, not overly nice. I just want to get my gas, get in the car, and go. Then a few weeks later, I'm at Costco, and Costco has the little 2-seater carts for kids, the little
Yep.
double-seater.
Oh, you had to
So yes,
oh.
Matthew and
Oh,
Benjamin are with me in the cart. They're
no.
probably two, like I'm getting chills just thinking about this. They are probably 2 and 1, I want to say, if I remember right. And I see out of the corner of my eye this guy, Walter, walking up to me. And in this creepy voice, he says, "Are these your kids?"
Oh.
And which I'm getting chills again. I got chills and I just tried to be nice to just try and get away from him. I'm like,
Yeah.
I gotta go. I'm really busy. I'm gotta be somewhere. And I just got what I needed and got out of Costco. I was freaked out. Um, but it gets even better. So after Costco, a few weeks later, I'm at home with Matthew and Benjamin. And again, this is before the internet where you can't
Yeah.
just look up people's addresses.
In the
And I
phone book.
open the
Yep.
door.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. I open the door and it is Walter. He
Oh
is
my
standing at my
no.
front door. And I freaked out. Like, I think my brain just started to glitch because I didn't know what to do because I'm thinking, why is he at my house? What am I gonna do? Yeah, I'm by myself, with my kids. So again, I just tried to be nice, not overly nice, but try to, get
Move them
him
along. Move them
to
along.
leave.
Yeah.
Right. I don't even remember what I said to him. Um, so then I told my husband and we called the police. Um, and luckily, I knew a few police officers on the police force. But again, this is 1999. So although we had stalker laws, they weren't as
Not
good
like
as
they
they
are
are
today.
now.
No.
Right.
Right. Right.
Yes. So
Right.
the police came over. I told them everything that had been happening. They did up a report and they said that I didn't have grounds. I did not have grounds for a restraining order because he didn't threaten me or, do anything like that. But my police friends said that they would go talk to
Right.
him
Right.
and give him a warning. Um, and I never saw or heard from him again. So I'm assuming he got the shit beat out of him. So that's my stalker. And after that, I had have this reoccurring dream because of it. But if you have any more stalker stories, you can go ahead and then I'll tell you my nightmare.
That's right. I was trying to think. I mean, it might have always been not necessarily stalkers, but I do remember one time when I was working at, and you jogged my memory, I was working at KATW at Cat FM. And so here's an interesting story. So my first real girlfriend, when I came back from college, um, I was the overnight DJ at KCLK, and she was the overnight DJ at KATW. So and so we ended up, she was my very first girlfriend, and we real girlfriend, not junior high or high school, but actual real
Right.
girlfriend. And so we dated for, and no, this is crazy when I say the timetable, dated for like 4 months. And not to get explicit, but that's who I lost my virginity to. So I
Hmm.
lost my virginity in the parking lot of the radio station in her
I mean, that's
blue,
kind of fitting for you, though.
all right,
That's so
in
fitting.
her blue Toyota Celica, and trust me, again, as I always joke, it wasn't great. At least not on my side, it wasn't
The
great.
first time never is for
It never is.
anyone.
So,
No.
and so what happened was, interesting enough, was she did break up with me, but she started dating the janitor. So she did the overnight shift at the radio station. She got promoted to 6 to midnight, and there was a
Oh.
janitor that would clean this radio station, and she ended up marrying the guy. She did end up marrying the guy.
Oh.
So, interesting enough, I lost my job at KCLK. You're gonna love this story because this is the best story ever. Lost my job at KCLK. Put my tape in over at Cat FM. Within a week, I was working over at KATW, the same radio station. Now we're broken up. We're broken up. She's
Right.
doing 6 to midnight, and maybe if I think she even got as far up as middays. She was doing middays, and so I was just a part timer. Well, what happened was new owners took over, and then just like you know how radio works. She went from middays to nights. So it was funny that at one time I was overnights, midnight to 6, and she was doing 6
Hmm.
to midnight. They
Right.
replaced me. We flipped shifts. So
Oh.
because they wanted to get rid of her. So they put me 6 to midnight,
Right.
and then they put her midnight to 6. And so the janitor, kind of being a blockhead, guess what? He's like, oh, I'm going to go kick his ass. I'm going to. So I get this call at the radio station God, I wish I could remember his name. I mean, I know her name, but I can't recall his name. He's like, I'm going to come down and kick your ass. Da, 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 da. You better be ready. So I call my buddy Randy, my best buddy Randy, and Randy says, I'll be down there in a little bit, Rick. So he comes down. Randy comes down all dressed up. I'm like, what the?
He's
So
dressed up for a fight
yes, and I said, why are you dressed up? He's like, well, if we're gonna get our asses kicked, I want to look good doing it.
or going to
I'm like,
jail. He
what?
wants to be all dressed up for sitting
I
in
don't
his
know.
jail
I'm like,
cell.
yeah. I was like, you don't want to be somebody's bitch in jail. But anyway, so my buddy Randy shows up. So he's all dressed up. I'm like, oh my God, we're going to get in this fight, this rumble here. And he called again and said, I'm going to come down there. So we're like, hey, come get us. And of course, like it never showed up. So
Oh.
I did call the Lewiston Police Department. And again, this is 1989. So this is pre anything,
Oh yeah, there's no stalker
almost
laws or
even pre
nothing.
computers, basically. And the cop comes down. He goes, "What's his name?" I gave him his name. He goes, "Yeah, we'll go have a talk with him, and you'll never bother you." And he never did. She ended up
Right.
marrying him, and they ended up having a bunch of kids. They did break. I mean, they did get a divorce later down the road, and all of that. And it was so funny. So Logan, she has a daughter that's Logan's age, and so I remember them going to school together. And shame on me because you should never tell a teenager anything. Because I
No.
said, "Oh, I know I know her mom well, da 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 da." And I have a very open relationship with my son, so he knew what had kind of transpired. Because
What
oh yeah,
that
I
meant.
told Logan, I said Logan, yeah, I lost my virginity to your mom. Well, do you think he went and told his friend?
Of course.
Well, of course. Oh my God. So I was more embarrassed. I was more embarrassed by really, Logan. We went to the daughter and said, hey, by the way, I mean, of course, I mean, she knows who I am, absolutely. So it was a little
Mhm.
embarrassing when they'd come to visit, and the daughter was there. I'm like, really? Oh, geez, okay. So, but it's kind of a funny story. But yeah, the cop did the same thing. So
Mhm.
you get those weird calls. You do get those random weird calls. Not now. Again, we can dispel the secret. We're not live 24/7 anymore.
No.
So when you were live 24/7, crazy things could just happen. I mean, they did.
Oh,
They
yeah.
because you're live 24 hours a day, midnight to 6, you're working. I mean, there's some scary there could be some scary things, Like tell us about your nightmare, because I'm sure it's pretty scary.
Well, yeah, I mean, thankfully, I did not have any more stalkers after Walter, but I mean, again, I didn't get back into radio until I was like, what, in my late to mid 40s, and who the hell wants to stalk a middle-aged woman? So,
A
I
voiceover guy.
so yeah, so but
What?
after it
What?
after it, we can talk about that in a different episode. Um, but yes, after Walter, my stalker, I would have this reoccurring dream. It would happen periodically, really for no reason. And I wouldn't even call it a dream. I would call it a nightmare. It was a nightmare. But this nightmare would be that I was getting into my car and somebody would come up behind me. They would use chloroform or something like
Oh.
that to knock me out, tie me up, gag me, put me in their trunk. I can't see the kidnapper's face because they have that black face ski mask thing on. And whoever it is takes me to this remote cabin, and the dream always ends with me lying on the floor. I've been stabbed. And you know how that pool of blood just
Oh,
oozes
yeah.
out from a body? Yes. And I would be starting to float above my body. So basically, I'm dead and my spirit is leaving my body. And I would wake up. You know how you feel like you're living this dream or
Yeah. Oh,
nightmare?
yeah, like it's
My
real. Yeah,
heart,
yeah.
yeah, my heart would be racing. I would be scared to death. But thankfully, now that I'm out of radio, I do not have this nightmare anymore. But I try to avoid any shows that have to do with stalkers,
Oh,
which I've
wow.
never watched that Netflix show You
Oh,
because I
right,
heard
right. Oh,
because I
yeah.
heard that
That's
that's what it was about. I don't
total
know if that's
creeper, yes.
true. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
I've
shows
never watched
that
it.
show is total creeper.
Oh, good. Okay, so I will not be watching that show. I try to stay away from episodes of those Criminal Minds or whatever that have to deal with that. So yeah. So
It's
that's
scary.
my.
I mean, it really is. We're just seeing that murder trial wrap up in Moscow, Idaho, which is close to
Oh
my
yes.
my home of Clarkston and Lewiston. That's 30 miles up the road. And the guy pleaded guilty, even though everybody kind of suspected he was guilty. But
Right.
that stuff, that Dateline, NBC stuff really does happen,
Mm.
and it can happen to radio people. I want to say many years ago, and I definitely don't want to go deep into it, but I remember in Spokane, I want to say it was a radio female DJ that was working midnight to 6, had gotten raped. That
Mm.
a listener had been stalking them, and you hear a lot of these horrific stories. Rebecca Schaefer from the TV show My Sister Sam,
Mm-hmm.
she was an aspiring actress, and they literally got the stalker got her phone number. I mean, her address from the phone book back in the day before, and they passed the Rebecca Schaefer law after
Mm-hmm.
she got killed because the stalker showed up. The stalker saw her, so she was on My Sister Sam with Pam Mork and Mindy's Pam Dauber.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
it was a 3-season show, My Sister Sam, in the late '80s. And so she went on. Rebecca Schaefer, she's just an actress, a young kid. Well, she went on and did a movie where she took her top off. And so the stalker was like, how, because he had a, a purity thing, of her. And,
Oh.
and she answered the door because her address, she wasn't famous, but she was still a working actress and famous enough.
Mm-hmm.
And she opened the door, and he shot her point blank because of this. So I think about all these scary things that definitely can happen more, and not that these things can't happen to men, but
Right.
it's predominantly women because these guys get such fantasies,
Mm-hmm.
and it's absolutely crazy when you think about how obsessed a fan can get.
Yeah.
I
It
I
could be
I've had
scary.
I've had obsessed. I was talking to so I not from a radio standpoint, but when I was in high school, I had an obsessed. I was at church group. There was a girl, and I want to say her name was Janine or Jeannie, and I could not shake her. She was obsessed, and she later apologized. I saw her at the grocery store when we were adults, and she came up and actually apologized to me. She goes, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, but like yeah, I deserved it. Just so you know, looking, but not that I deserve. I did not lead her on. Just so you know, I did not lead her on. I told her no from the get go. But
Mhm.
but anybody knows anything about me and my obsessive personality,
I know
I
about
got
it.
a good, yeah, I got a good like, yeah, Rick. That's how it feels when the full Rick Michaels goes on, the full Rick Michaels Monty. You, you think I would have taken a note from that because but anyway,
Mhm.
so I've had some obsessed people with that. Yeah, I've had a few, but nothing like your level. Nothing like where I was like, I never felt in fear of my life or any of those things. But I can
I
totally see it. Yeah,
And I think it like at the time it wasn't so much me I was concerned about.
of
It
course, your
was
children.
more after right after
Sure.
he saw
Yeah.
Matthew and Benjamin that really
Well,
tipped me over the edge.
well,
So,
it's really weird when we're in radio because I remember that Logan, Pokey, and I had gone to Red Robin one night in Yakima, and and there was a couple in front of us, or some people in front of us. Well, they recognized me from the radio station,
mhm,
and they turned around and they looked right at Logan, who was probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 at the time, and goes, "Oh, you must be Logan." And
mhm,
Logan took a big step back,
yeah,
like he's like, "I don't know you." Because my
stranger
that's
danger.
that's one thing I love. Yeah, I will say that's the one thing I can honestly say about my son, which was nice, is he was never there. There are children that will walk up to complete strangers
Mhm,
and start a conversation. My son never in a billion, like, no, like, nope, I don't know you. I don't talk to you. And so I
yeah,
was always proud of him that way. But yeah, this listener comes up and literally goes, "Oh, you must be Logan," in a very nice way. And he's like, "Nope,"
right.
steps back and goes, "I don't know you."
Well, because we talk about our lives and our kids and
Oh yeah,
because we're real people and then our listeners are our friends. They get to
sure.
know us and our families and our kids. And so it's just natural that they would say that
Well,
because
so
they know him.
the funny thing about my neighborhood where I live is I know my neighbors, but I never went out and said, "Hi, I'm Rick from the radio."
Oh, no.
I never once mentioned that I'm on the
Mm-mm.
radio. They find out, interesting enough, they find out one time, it was so funny, was Barkley had gotten out into the pasture behind our house. And so my neighbor to the right, I'd gone out looking for Barkley, and she came out and goes, "Oh, is your dog missing?" I said, "Yeah, he's a border collie, blah, blah, blah." And we're talking in our conversation. He goes, and then Barkley heard my voice. And so Barkley comes from the pasture, he's in trouble. And then I
Right.
go in the house. Well, like 2 weeks later, I'm walking, I go for a walk and I come around the bend and she stops me. She goes, "Oh, hang on a second. Don't wait, wait, wait." So yeah, what's going on? And she goes, "You're on the radio." And I said, "Oh, I am." And I go, "I am." And she goes, "Yeah, because while we were having a conversation when Barkley was missing, she's like, "I know your voice. Why do I know your voice?"
Mm.
And then she goes, "Then I'm driving down the road listening to one of the radio stations, and there you are." And I went, "He's on the radio."
Hmm.
So those are things that you're the same way. I don't go out and say, "Hey, I'm on the radio," because who
No.
cares? And then my
Mm-mm.
other neighbor was so funny. I was doing a bit one day where I knew all the pets in the neighborhood, like there's Joey and there's Bailey and there's Georgia, and I said, "But I have no idea what my neighbors' names are. Like I have no idea."
Hmm.
So I'm
That
talking to my
that sounds
neighbor.
like that sounds
Yeah,
like you.
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Well, and so I'm talking to my neighbor about the fence line, and in the middle of the conversation, he goes, "Oh, by the way, my name is Jonathan." And I went, "Oh, well, hi, Jonathan." And I go, "Oh, you must listen to the show." He goes, "Oh yeah, I listen all the time. I know." He goes,
Mm.
"I know your voice." And he goes, "My name's
Yeah.
Jonathan." So it's funny. And then my neighbors from across also listen to KORD. And so when Barkley or Roxy, "Oh, there's Barkley. Oh, there's Roxy. There's Bodie."
Yeah.
So so it's not that I went out and said, "Hey, I'm on the radio," but they recognize your voice. So it really is in the most interesting places, like you said, the grocery store.
Hmm.
If I'm just checking out, I'm not saying anything, but people will
Right.
come up and go, "Oh, you know," or I was in line one time at Yokes, and the gal in front of me was talking to her little daughter. Goes, oh, that's Rick. He's on the radio. I was like, oh, I said, well, nice to meet you guys. And then if they, have a conversation with me, I'll have a conversation. But
Right.
it is funny that, I mean, it's like, and then again, it's interesting, as you well know, Michele, like in Yakima, you got your Dave Eddles, or you got your Micahs, or you've got people that are really well known. But
Yep.
you and I encountered the point of that I'm not well known, but voice wise, if I'm in a crowd,
Yes.
people will go, not, they won't say Rick. They just go, that guy's on the radio.
Right.
They
They
just go,
recognize your voice.
right.
Where at least with mine, nobody hardly ever recognized my voice. So I was good.
Well, because you're
I
not
was good.
walking around. I mean, it's funny that people think, we should talk about the fact that people think that you have a different voice on the radio, and you don't. You are who you are.
Right.
So when people
I
are
mean,
like, oh, use your
sometimes
radio voice. This is my radio
yes,
voice.
I hated that. Which
Yeah.
again, when my daughter would make that comment, "Oh, mom's using her radio voice."
Oh, yeah.
It's
Well,
the only thing is it's a little bit louder, and usually
right.
it's because I'm pissed off at you.
And it's not
So
called your mom voice. See, Logan calls
no,
mine.
she would call it, and I think she would do
Oh,
it
yeah.
just to like irritate
Oh.
me, because she would be like, "Oh,
Oh, there's her radio voice.
mom's
Oh,
using her
that's a good
radio
one.
voice."
I'll have to remember
Mhm.
that. Logan just used dad, like, oh, dad's using his dad voice.
Mm.
So it's one of those things. But it is funny too. We do get some anonymity because now they can go on and see what we look like.
Yes,
But for the
yeah, with
most
the
part, we
internet.
still get a lot of anonymity compared to being on the TV. You and I both have friends that have been that are on the TV. Mike McCabe,
Yep.
good friend of mine. We started out together in Lewiston. He's the big weather forecaster. He gets Micah, the former mayor.
Mhm.
We couldn't get anywhere with Micah, as we've talked about in earlier episodes.
No.
Like shit, dude. I just want to get a sandwich at Subway. Can you, let's move it along. Let's move it along, dude.
We only have an hour lunch. Come on.
Let's go. Exactly. And they want to talk about, levies and dams and taxes.
Mhm. What's going on in the city?
That's right. So yeah,
All right.
stalkers are interesting. That's for
Yep.
sure. And
Yep.
have you ever gotten? I've gotten letters, not love letters, but I have gotten. Hey, we recently just got one from a girl that graduated high school in Pasco. Out of the blue, we get her announcement, and it goes, "Hi,
Oh,
my name's
yes.
hi, my name's Brittany. I'm graduating from Pasco High this year. Just wanted to say that I'm going to go to school at WSU, and how much I'm going to miss the show. I like it when you guys do Facebook fun or whatever." And I'm like, whoa, we were like, who's it? Like this, we've never encountered this person. And totally, and the nice thing is what makes radio so much fun is there are still a lot of nice people that listen, or I guess
Oh, yeah.
regular people.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about prize pigs and different things. Well, there's still a lot of other nice people that listen. So I've always been pleasantly surprised. When I get a letter.
Mhm.
Because it's
Which
like,
the thing now is, for if you have extra high school announcements or graduation invites, is to send them to different places. We did this with Shaylee. So
so you're saying it was
So-
nothing.
well, no, I'm not saying that.
I
Because
can-
if she
I
did
can handle
write
that.
a letter, if
Yeah.
she did write a letter with
Right.
it, then
Right.
that means more.
Well,
So
you don't think about, you do in a sense, because we've done a lot of charities, we've done a lot of different things, and you can really make an impact. You don't think you make an impact. Everybody makes an impact in this world. If you might not even think you're making an impact, but you are. I remember working at the skating rink many years ago, and this girl gave me a Polaroid, and she's like, hey, she goes, she goes, hey, Virgil, I think because I was the long haired DJ at the skating rink as well as being on the radio. And this girl was in a children's home. She was in a children's home. And she sent me a really nice letter saying, hey, I think you're a cool dude, da 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 da. And there she is, all gothed out, and there's Metallica and Tool and Rammstein behind her. I'm like, oh yeah, we'll work out. Perfect. That's my chick. No, but she was super cool. I mean, she was really, and so the thing I've always found totally fascinating, and as you've gotten to know me, Michele, through the years, I'm always bewildered by all the wild women, the tatted goth rock chicks, all the, the wild women are interested in the nerds. It's always fascinated me to some extent. So it's one of those things where if I get hit on, it's like left field, like, wow, not that I wouldn't go out with them, but it's just like, why would I even be interesting to that person, if that makes sense?
Right. Maybe that's because the other goth men, have that bad boy image, and bad boys
Well,
are fun for a while, but
right.
it gets old and nerds are nice.
Yeah, and
I could see that.
and interesting because you just don't know when you're in radio. So it's so funny is my one of the girlfriends I had after I got a divorce from Pokey was a girl named Heather. You never met Heather, but it's interesting how Heather and I met was Ken Heeman. Remember Ken Heeman at the radio
Mhm.
station? He was the rock guy. He
Yep.
comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, by the way, there's this well girl but woman, I guess, at Whistling Jack who thinks you're cool." And I went, "What?" Because you know me, I'm always shocked. And he goes, "Yeah, me and my wife and I, Sandra, hung out with her. Man, she's a rock chick, and and she smokes cigs, and she's tattooed up and biker chick, and she really wants to meet you." And I said, "What? No, like this is not even I just don't understand it." And so I met her, and we ended up going out for a while before I moved to Bakersfield. And she's super cool. She was, but we
Mhm.
were so like she was like into motorcycles and hard heavy metal, like just complete opposite of me. And I asked her, I said, "What, like, how did you she found me. I didn't find her. She found me." And she said that Tom and I were at McDonald's one day, and she was with her boyfriend at the time, and she looks over and sees me, and then I leave with Tom, and she goes up to the counter and goes, "Hey, by any chance you know who those two guys were?" And they go, "Yeah, that's Rick and Tom from the radio station."
That is so random.
That is
That's
random.
crazy.
And
That is
then
so crazy.
and then Heather started working at Whistling Jack Lodge with Ken's wife, Sandra,
Oh.
and go, "Oh, my husband works at Cats." Well, just and this was a year later. This was a year later after she saw me. A year later, she goes, "Well, do you know Rick?" And she goes, "Yeah, we know Rick. Da da da. Well,
Mhm.
can you set me up?" So
Aw.
anyway, just isn't that like the oddest? Like,
Yeah, that is random. It was almost fate,
no,
I tell you.
well, no, she's super. And we're still friends today, but it was just kind of cool that like what you look across the room and a year later we're going on a date, and I didn't
Mhm.
know. Like, I didn't know it at the time, but it's
Right.
kind of interesting how you don't know. Number one, like you said, when you're in the public eye, people are observing you all the time. People are,
Yep.
oh, that happened to, well, actually, if you want a crazy story, that's how Megan and I, for the most part, met too. I don't have I ever talked about how Megan and I met? So,
Not on our podcast.
right. So Megan and I met on Match.com. We met on Match.com. The funny thing about it was, I was doing an event where they dumped the ducks into the Columbia River. So that's that
Mm.
big rotary where the ducks float down the river. So I was emceeing that event that day with Kevin Uretsky from the TV. And Megan had just moved to the Tri-Cities. And so I was doing a big stunt to where I was living in a tent raising money for this cause.
Mhm.
And so she went home and she's on Match.com and she sees my face and goes, I know that person. So she clicks a little smiley face on it,
Right.
and so she sends me a message. She goes, "Hey, are you the DJ that's living in a tent?" And I wrote back, "Well, I don't live in a tent all the time." So, and then she always tells people that she saw me at this event. She saw me at
Mhm.
this event before we ever actually met.
Before you matched on
Before we
Match.com.
met, yeah, before we matched
Yeah.
on Match.com. So it was now that I'm going to say was fate.
Yeah,
There, there you go.
definitely.
And
Mhm.
at the time, some Schwann's girl was into me, so I would, yeah. So because yeah, well, yeah. So I don't think, not Megan doesn't know that part of the story, but there was a
Okay, well,
girl, there was a Schwann's girl that had a boyfriend. No, she had a boyfriend.
and you were dating her?
I was not dating her, but she was
Oh,
hanging out with me. Yeah.
okay.
So doing stuff I shouldn't have been doing.
I know.
Again, cleaned up the backyard. Backyard is clean. Backyard is clean.
Mm.
But yeah, those single years, man. Whew. So,
Yep.
but yeah, so and how I met that Schwann's girl was I was doing again. People will walk up and meet you,
Mhm.
so it's kind of crazy that way. So,
Yep.
not
Circle
yeah.
Go
I don't know
ahead.
if I don't know if I'd do it if I had a stalker.
I think you would probably like it.
I guess
Especially
I don't
back
I
then.
don't
Maybe
know.
not so much now, no, but
I think it's so we'll talk about dating later down the road probably, but it's like you know me, I like strong women.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's one of the
So you
things
would like the stalker?
well, not the no, no, I think obsessive is weird. Cause to me, it's like so I've dated people that or I've gone on dates with people that just stare at you and I'm like, "Why are you staring at me?" "Oh, you're so beautiful." "No, no,
Yeah,
no."
that's weird.
No, but I don't know if you've ever gone on those kind of things
Mm-mm.
and you're like and I'm like, "Okay, this is not gonna work out because I want I want my mate or my wife to have their own personality. I want them to like their own things. I don't wanna be the center of their universe." I guess that's a better way. You and I both have friends where they're weird couples because they're one of them is so obsessed with the other one
Yes.
that they can't breathe. Like they can't
Yep.
literally it's like I think that's creepy.
Yep.
So so having people stare at you or think you're beautiful or any of that, I mean, it's nice, but it's like you said that Netflix TV show you, no
Yeah.
thanks. You know, I would rather be married to someone who calls me out on my shit.
Oh, yeah.
That's the best part. I want someone to say, "Oh, you're full of shit. Your eyes are brown
Mhm.
to the top. You're full of
Right.
shit."
Right.
That I'm like, "Oh, I'm in love."
Right.
It's like I ain't
It
taking
has to
your
keep you in line.
yeah, I ain't taking your
Mhm.
crap,
Right.
because and you
Regardless of if you're Rick Michaels.
you're
I don't
right.
care
Oh
who
yeah,
you
I
are.
hate any of that crap. You know how I feel about that stuff. It's like because I always tell people, same as you, Michelle. Our personalities are our personalities. I was this personality long before I was ever on the radio.
Yeah.
This is who I am. So the radio, I guess, accentuates that. But if I was a psychologist, if I was working at Walmart, I would still be the same person.
You'd still be the loudest employee.
I would be. I'd be the guy going, happy, 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 happy. Hey guys, are we gonna do the cheer today? Come on, guys. Hey, why are you all down? Well, because we work at sucky Walmart. No, no, Walmart's the best. Oh my God, Walmart. Yay, go rah, rah, rah team. And then they take me out and shoot me.
You'd make the best Walmart greeter.
Rick Michaels is no longer an employee of Walmart. He's been shot in the head, left for dead.
This.
Sorry, I get a little off the rails on these things,
You
but
did, yeah, because I wanted to circle back. You were talking about how we don't even realize we make impacts on
oh
our
yeah,
listeners'
go ahead and
lives.
tell us the
Yeah.
story where you feel tell us a story where you feel like you've made the most impact in radio.
I mean, not necessarily the most impact, but it was when I was doing middays on KFFM. Again, I think it was that second time when I was working there when you and I were working together. And a listener called me up and she said, I've never met her, never talked to her before. And she said that I just want to tell you that you make my days bearable and to the point where I
Aw.
can keep going. And she was going through this horrible divorce with her husband. Like, I'm getting chills now just thinking about
Yeah,
it.
it's such a good
And
story.
yeah, I was just in shock. I mean, one, because we don't think we make that much of an impact, especially on a music based
Right,
format that you
right.
can't really converse a lot in between songs. So, I mean, that really, uh, hits home to you. And again, you don't really realize the impact that you have on people just day to day that you don't even know about. I mean, there's probably thousands of Rick Michael listeners that you make
Oh,
an
I don't know
impact
about
on every day.
I don't know about that, but I will tell you some great stuff, Michelle, that you and I did. A couple that will jog your memory is
Mm.
Danger Boy in the Doghouse,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
raising money for that Lyft van. It was a six
Lift
thousand
for
dollar
Lucas.
yeah, a Lyft for Lucas,
Yep.
and then of course our one of our favorites of all is Super Sam.
Oh, yes.
$11,000 for the Children's Mental Network, and Nicole and Jeff and
Mm-hmm.
Faith and Sammy. One of my favorite stories of all time. Now,
Yep.
of course, we've got St. Jude, we've got Children's Miracle Network, we've got a ton of radiothons that we've done. But when you can personally, like you said, going back to giving away a backstage pass, you're at an event and you're gonna go backstage and meet somebody, and then there's somebody there
Mm-hmm.
going, "Oh, I really wish I could do that," and you turn around and give them your backstage pass. Done that a
Yep.
million times, and it's the best feeling because you're giving them an experience that you get every day.
Right, which that kind of ties into the most memorable contest and stunts for me. It's not so much the contest or the stunts. It's like you said, when we do those things like Children's Miracle Network and we get matched up with a family and Super Sam and his family. And then after you were gone, we had Alex and his mom, Danielle.
Yeah.
And you get to know these families because you're working side to side with them, raising this money. And they're all incredible families and they have incredible kids. And those are probably my most favorite memories in radio. And also when we would scrimmage the Special Olympics basketball team,
Oh,
which
don't.
I hate basketball. I hate it with a passion. I suck at it. And these athletes are
They're
legitimate
amazing.
athletes, obviously, right? And
A
we're
team crushed
horrible.
us. Like, no, no, no. Don't even get me started on the Special Olympics.
But they loved it. They loved it when we would come and scrimmage them, and they would
Yes.
kick our ass for one, and they would be
Yes.
talking smack to
Yes.
us the entire time, which was
Yep.
hilarious. I don't know if we really helped them because again, we sucked, so it wasn't much of a competition or even a game for them. But
Number
I think
one,
it
the
lifted their spirits, and they had a lot of
Of
fun.
course, they enjoyed it. I think we got a little
Mhm.
special award from them for it. But more
Mhm.
than anything else is like, don't Special Olympians. Yeah, they're way more athletic than we are. And
Mhm.
the A team, like that was like playing NBA. That was like playing Wilt Chamberlain and
Mhm.
Shaq, and then you started going down to the B and C teams, and then you're like, oh, now I can take the ball, and then they boo you.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and
so
they
you've
they
got a
smoked
special,
us
yeah.
too.
Well, yeah, but you're a you're an a-hole if you do and an a-hole if you don't. So if you play aggressively, try to win this thing, you're an a-hole, and if you don't, then you're an a-hole. So yeah, it was an amazing experience. So yeah, for me,
Mhm.
I don't know if you ever done donkey basketball, which
Yes.
is all,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, we've had
donkey,
to do that.
yeah,
Not
donkey
one of my favorite
basketball.
things.
No. So there's been a lot of these wonderful,
Mhm.
again, you just don't realize that there are so many ways that you can make an impact.
Yeah.
And the fun thing for me down in Tri-Cities is on occasions, I've been asked to talk about being a foster kid
Mhm.
at different events. And so there's a place down here called My Friend's Place where it has runaway teens and stuff. So they invited me to speak about being a foster kid and my tribulations. And then for me, I got to go to the YWCA in Yakima a few years back.
Mhm.
And I was right before, she's the big newscaster, Soledad. She's the big
Oh,
famous newscaster.
Soledad O'Brien.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
I remember
I
her.
was like number one intimidated because I got to speak before actually no, I came after her. Thank goodness. No, she spoke and then I got up there. And did some of my stuff. So getting to speak at the YWCA in Yakima, different things like that. And then I got up there and we were raising money and Nick, our boss in Yakima, I couldn't see the tally and I didn't think I was making a difference. And he goes, Rick, when you were talking about your childhood, the tally just went like this
Yes,
of people giving
definitely.
money. And
Yeah.
so I've always been shocked that unbeknownst to us, we're able to make that kind of contribution. So it's rewarding.
Yep, definitely. So, I mean, we talked about on a different episode when we had to live in a car all together
Yes.
on a podcast. I mean, that was probably one of my favorite ones because it
Yeah.
wasn't cold. It was during the
Right,
winter
right.
time,
Nice.
and we were in the little breezeway of the supermarket, so we were protected. But that was fun because listeners just come by all the time. The one I did not like that you made me do.
Is
Remember
the
the
crane?
crane?
I knew you
Yes.
were going to say the crane. That's classic. That was I wanted to do that for 20 years, being up at the crane 200 feet off the ground. Micah, again, we've talked about how Micah is such a putz. And the mayor is, I'm just going to say it, the mayor is a putz.
Former mayor.
Like, former mayor is a putz because, he goes, I'm afraid of heights. I can't go up there. I'm
So
like,
was I, but
I'm like,
sucked
get
it
your
up
ass up there. Yeah,
and
get
did
your
it.
ass up there. Yeah. And he's like, no, I got to go get a Jamba Juice and go to the gym.
Well,
Gotta
we would have
gotta
to
take the girls to the gun show. Gotta take the girls to the gun show.
Well,
All right, Cephas.
it was this little box that they would lift us
Yeah.
up in. So we'd have to go up separately, take shifts or whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember my shift, it was starting to get windy and they were
Oh, yeah.
questioning whether they should even hoist me up there. And
Right.
I'm thinking, oh God, I'm going to die in this box that's going to fall from the wind. But again, I sucked it up and I did it. And, we
And
raised
you made
money.
a difference.
That's
And you
right.
made a
Yeah.
difference. And people don't. And the nice thing about it, people don't forget those things because when you run into them later, like, oh, I remember when you guys were in a crane. I remember you guys were in a car. All these different
Mhm.
things. I remember when Cephas went across the stage naked during the bull bash, which he did not. He was in his underwear, but he had a sombrero. But he did go across the stage naked in the bull bash. So all these little things that are very memorable, and you realize that you make a contribution, and then the stories you tell. like I'm a foster kid. You've had a lot of trauma in your
Mm,
life.
right.
You've had some mom issues. You've had some dad issues.
Yeah.
You've got number one, what makes you so relatable is you've got kids. You've got 4 kids, and different things that you've gone through. And so you don't realize at the time that when you're telling these stories that you're making the impact, but you are.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it could just be us just talking about our daily lives and not realizing that that makes a difference to somebody
Well,
day
I
in and day
think when
out.
people listen to the radio, that they try to find common ground of, we have a listener at KORD. I just met him recently a couple weeks ago. I was in the parking lot of Yokes. He was driving by and stopped me and goes, "Are you Rick?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm Rick." And he goes, we live in the same neighborhood, and I always look for your yellow truck, and I see your truck here all the time, but I never see you. And I said, "Oh, well, nice to meet you." And he goes, "Man," he goes, "we have so much in common." He goes, "I was a foster kid." And then he just goes, then tells me all these things he has common. And then
Right.
meanwhile, you look at him and he's all tatted up and he's got a rolled up pack of cigarettes in it, like the Fonz, and you go, "Well, I can't imagine me having anything in common with him, if I just met him
Right.
normally." And then you realize you have a lot in common. He grew up
Right.
poor, he was in the system, different things like that. And so you realize, yeah, you don't think you do, but you can make a real big impact in the industry.
Oh, definitely. And there's other contest that I well, it wasn't a contest. It was more a stunt that I did not like besides the crane one. The crane one was fine. Once I got up there and
Right, right.
I was fine. And I just kept telling myself, you're doing this for a good cause. But one, it was a stunt with my former morning show partner, Gunner,
Okay.
who we did not have the budget for a stunt boy. Remember this?
Right. Oh God. Oh gosh. I know where this is going. Okay.
So he would try to make me the
Yeah.
stunt boy, but and I would tell him no. And his way around it was he would make these bets with me. And somehow he discovered that I was deathly afraid of mice. I mean, not deathly, but
Oh, I don't like,
the
yeah.
the type where I literally jump up on a chair and start screaming. I mean, I just growing up in the country, I do not like mice. I can handle snakes, spiders, you name it. Mice, not so much. So he made this bet with me where if I lost, I was going to have to sit in a box or something with a
What?
mouse for X amount of time. You were there
What?
during this. Do you not remember
Was
this?
I? No, I
Yes.
wasn't. I allowed
Yes, you
this?
were. Yes, yes, you allowed this.
Oh,
And so I lost, obviously.
of
And so I
course.
had to sit in this big refrigerator box with this mouse. But at the time, my dad still had his beekeeper suit. And so I wore that. And Gunnar was
Oh,
so pissed because he's like, that wasn't part of the deal. And I'm like,
no,
well,
that
you didn't
works.
say what I couldn't wear. So I
Right.
hated that
Exactly.
stunt.
Exactly.
And then he tried to do another one where I think I was working out and losing weight at one of the gyms that sponsored the radio station. And I was trying to meet this weight loss goal, which, first of all, was unattainable for like my size or whatever. But he bet me that if I didn't reach this weight amount, that I would have to kiss his bare ass.
Oh,
And this is right before he got let go, which I think that in itself was an HR issue. And you
should
were
have been.
there again during this time. So those were the
He,
things I did not
well,
like.
because he had a crush on you, basically, I
No, he
guess.
didn't. He did not have a crush on me. Oh, God.
I don't know. I'm just saying it's
Did
it.
not.
That's kind of an
Mm-mm.
yeah. I mean, oh yeah. We can talk later about all the HR stuff.
HR
That
violations.
HR rate, yeah, HR, yeah. I think is the statute of limitations passed now that we can talk about HR issues that we've had through
I think
the
so.
years.
3 years.
Uh,
3 years.
I've had a lot of things
You've been
happen
an
in
HR
HR.
violation?
Not me personally, but things have happened to me
Mm.
where it was like, yeah. So we could definitely do another episode. A lot of that
Of
drama is gone. Well, again, we're not live anymore, so a lot of the drama's gone away. But
right. I mean, but morning shows still are. So
yep, our
to
morning
some
show is still
aspect.
yep,
So,
yeah. So
and
there's still those things, but you also, like you said, it's a different time. You don't treat the stunt boy thing has gone so far away
right.
anymore because there was a big lawsuit. We for a we back in Sacramento. We talked about it earlier, or somebody died, and so that put a kibosh on
Well, this was
stunt.
after. I mean, this was
Well,
after
I know
people
that.
were
That's
dying from it. I think he
that's
just
gun
wanted.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Gunner stuff though. He likes that kind of stuff.
Yeah. He wanted to be like that.
Yep.
What I don't know. I don't know if you'd call it controversial. I don't know. It's almost like Howard Sternish shock
Right.
jockey, right?
Shock
Yeah,
jockey. You're
that's
right,
what it would be. Yeah.
exactly. How far can we push the envelope?
Right. Which, again, some of those pretend stunts I didn't
Yeah.
like
Those are
either.
all
Thankfully we didn't do any of those.
you could
So,
always the funny thing is we can talk down the road about pretend stunts. Like a lot of people think
mhm,
the stuff is real. So one
yeah.
of the classic pretend stunts in Yakima, or I mean in radio, is walking naked down Main Street. Have you heard
Mm,
that? Have you ever heard the classic stunt walking naked down Main Street?
yes.
Oh, at 8 o'clock on Monday morning, I'm going to walk naked down Main Street. And then they bring a dog, and the
Mhm.
dog's name is Naked,
Right.
but I'm
Yeah.
walking naked down.
Yeah.
Those are mainly for like April Fool's jokes and different things like
Yes.
that. But
Right. I
yeah.
think the one I didn't like was you're going to go on vacation, so you pretend that you got suspended, but nobody knows
Oh
why
God,
you got
that's one of the.
suspended.
Oh God, that
And
is one of the. Yes, I've seen it accomplished well in some markets, but most markets don't buy it. Most people don't
right.
buy it. But goes, oh, what did Gunner and Michele say this morning that got him fired? On suspension for a weekend.
Suspended.
Well, they're on vacation.
Mhm.
Some people still believe it. I mean, I'm not. Sorry to pull back the curtain, but isn't this kind of what this podcast is all
I
about?
mean, yeah, that's the whole point of this podcast, and that
Yeah.
is stuff that happens. So,
Right. Yeah. Not everything you hear is, it's Wizard of Oz. It's
right.
smoke and mirrors. We don't do that stuff as much as we used to because I think
Oh,
that the
that's good.
audiences have changed. I think audiences, they don't have time for it. Back in the day, they'd follow, almost like a soap opera. They'd follow it. Now it's
Right.
like, now you get them. If you're lucky, you get a listener for 20 minutes a day, and that's it.
Right. I do remember the one stunt you wanted to try to pull, but we weren't allowed to. Do you remember this one?
Which one was it?
The stealing the "Welcome to the Palm Springs of Yakima" sign.
Oh God, that would have been the best stunt ever. But Gary, whoever the owner was, because we were going to do
Gary
a big.
Lucart.
Yeah, but we were going to do a scavenger hunt. So we were
Mhm.
going to pay for it. The Yakima sign would disappear. Can you imagine the kind of buzz that would have created? And then
Right.
we'd give clues, and we were going to give like $5,000 to anybody if you could locate it, if you follow the clues. Think about how now you got to say that would have been amazing.
It would have. Yes.
And we offered to pay for the sign removal. We offered to store it. The list goes on. And Gary just was not. He thought we were making fun of. He felt it was
Oh.
mockery. Felt it was a mockery.
Everybody mocks that sign in the
I know, but
Yakima.
we meant it in the best. That would have been huge.
That one would have been epic. Yeah. I still remember that one. So you tried hard. You
Yeah, I
tried your
tried.
darndest to make that one happen.
Yeah, that would have been a good making the Yakima sign disappear. But there's been a lot of different promotions and different fun things like are you the 107.3 bandit? We're going to give you $5,000. I mean, all these different things that you can do. So
Right. I mean, we did have listeners for watershed tickets.
Yep.
Get a tattoo of our station logo.
that's
I
a cool
remember
one.
that. And then one of them let us chop her hair off. Stuff like
Nice.
that. So yeah.
We in Bakersfield, we had a couple good ones in Bakersfield. One was ground beef on Groundhog Day, where people had to dig their hands in to get George Strait tickets.
Oh.
So ground beef, they had to do that. And then we also did a good one where we got 5 dads together with Taylor Swift tickets, and they had to build grills. You know those little red hibachi grills that you get at wherever, Ace Hardware. So you get 5 men, and guess what? Nothing is more determined than a man trying to win daughter tickets to Taylor. Right? Is that not a great stunt? That's a great stunt. And so whoever could build the barbecue that fast would win Taylor Swift tickets. So what men will do for their daughters, it's probably one of the most amazing things that you'll ever see in radio.
I mean, unlimited. They'll do whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So those are good. Yeah, there's some good ones.
Yeah. One of my other favorite memories, this isn't a contest or a stunt, but was when that magician Jay Owenhouse came to town.
Oh, yeah.
The one with the white and the orange tiger. And I got to be sawed in half.
Yes.
But on stage, the cool thing about that was I got to see how this trick really worked.
Right.
That was the only thing I thought was cool. So, yeah.
Yeah,
So that was
we had a listener one time. Her name was Marcia, who got to go David Copperfield and got to be vanished in the audience, and knows how.
ooh.
Now I know how the stunt works because he got sued for it. But again, and I asked her later, I said, "Oh my God, how cool is it?" And she goes, "Well, yeah." And then they promised they don't tell the secret, and so she didn't
Right.
tell the secret. I mean, we know the secret, but it's more to see it, I guess, if that makes sense. And
Right.
we love those kind of things.
Like
So,
the being sawed in half trick, it was super hokey how it's really done. I was like, really? This is it? like
but
what?
it's a skill. But it's a skill. It's a skill to make it
Mm-hmm.
look real.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
I love
Timing.
magic. I love magic when I see the art of illusion is incredible. Our
Mm-hmm.
good buddy Dave Edel is like, Dave is really good at some of those tricks that he does, and
Yep.
that's how he got the ladies back in the day. Hey, ladies, let me do a magic trick for you in his
Yep.
little vest.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Yep.
I don't,
Yep.
Lance was a clown, so I mean, it's a little harder
Oh
to be
goodness.
a little harder to be Mr. Giggles and pull in the ladies. But
Yeah.
if you can do magic, you can pull in the ladies, but
I
not if you're a
mean,
clown.
it is popular as a clown, so there
He
are
is.
some women.
I love Mr. and Mrs. Giggles. They're the best.
Yep.
So,
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we're almost hitting our time slot. So that means next podcast we could talk about our fake names, how we came about them.
fake names are the best.
Yeah, I don't want to go overtime like we did on that one podcast. So
Nope, we won't. Well,
just,
my name's pretty easy and pretty quick. My story on how I got my name, so that'll take a couple minutes.
Yeah, we'll start off podcast 6 with that. And then
All right,
radio
names are going to be fun. Radio names. I mean, as I always tell people,
our fake radio names.
Come on, look at my name. Come on. Like, does that not look at? I always tell people when they ask me about it, I'm like, they're like, "Is your name fake?" I'm like, look at it.
Well,
there's no way somebody lined up RIKMIK that well. Nobody, right?
When I search for our podcast on Spotify or whatever, there are like RIK comes up several other podcasts before ours. Just FYI,
right.
Just so you know.
But Mikals, but
right.
but the crazy thing, there are other people in the industry that that have co-opted my Mikals.
Oh.
But they do it differently. I've seen Mikals like MYKALS. I've seen it MIKELS. So anyway.
All right. Well, we'll talk about it next episode. Thank you so much for listening to Rick and That Michelle Chick.
See you next time.